God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen. This is the Nathan NAPALM channel, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing, especially if you're interested in Pantheon-related content on our march to launch. Today, I want to talk about a question and answer, not all of them, but a question and answer from Brad McQuaid's Q&A in the newest February 2019 newsletter. So here's what I want to talk about, and it's the one talking about in-combat meditation. So the question was, there has been a lot of debate in the community about in-combat meditation, while out-of-combat meditation is to be expected due to more of an emphasis on downtime. What is the current design philosophy regarding in-combat meditation? Do you want to see players have more of an active role when it comes to combat? So they're asking Brad McQuaid, what do you think, from a philosophical point of view, what do you think about people being able to meditate in combat? Alright? His answer is, again, no specifics yet, but I can at least convey our philosophy. Firstly, some downtime between battles is very important. It allows players to chat and get to know each other. It allows players to take a bio break or grab a bite to eat. But too much downtime and the game becomes more waiting than doing. Something we definitely want to avoid. More specifically, when it comes to getting your mana back, meditating, etc. A group should consist of different classes that, when played properly, can employ a lot of synergistic abilities and spells. That means you can reduce considerable downtime by working with your group and not just expending mana, but also getting it back during combat. You'll also likely always be regenerating mana even while fighting. As a last resort, you can sit down between battles and the rate of mana regeneration will be even more efficient. What's important here, however, is that should be the exception, not the rule. If you are playing synergistically and smart and not just mana dumping all of the time, then downtime between battles should be significantly shorter. On the other hand, if you are playing carelessly and not focusing on teamwork, you may very well find yourself waiting a bit longer in between encounters. So while not set in stone, we are considering letting people sit and meditate during combat. But doing so anywhere near an NPC would draw major aggro. So in some situations, for example, depending on the encounter and the location, a wizard could hide in a corner away from the battle and meditate more efficiently, but this would likely not be the norm. It could also be tied into the disposition and the behaviors of the NPCs involved in the battle. Lastly, the meditating player would have to be very careful about ads and wandering mobs. So I love this answer. I think this sounds like the best way to handle the problem. And I do just want to say, a couple things. First of all, back in the day when EQ was a thing, right? And that was the MMO. I used to complain about downtime, alright? I'll admit it. I did. I didn't understand what it was doing socially for the game because I didn't have enough examples to show me what would happen, alright? And I think if you were there back then, if you're honest with yourself, you'll agree with me that back then we used to be like, oh my god, I wish we could just speed this up and just keep fighting, man. I wish we could just keep fighting forever, you know? But what we didn't know back then was that without any downtime, the social structure falls apart because we don't need to talk anymore. As a matter of fact, we don't have time to chat, especially in EQ when there wasn't, like, you know, voice options, or not that I was aware of at that time anyway. I don't feel like Mumble or any of those kind of things came out until a little later. At least as far as my knowledge was, we talked in the chat in game with our keyboard and our fingers, and I liked it that way, to be honest. I wish we could just do that, but whatever. It's another topic for another day. But I used to complain about it. Now that I've seen what happens when you get rid of it, I'm all about downtime, okay? We need it. It's a pillar of MMORPGs. It just is. You gotta have some downtime. You've got to have the right amount of downtime, okay? That's the key, and they are so aware of that. They talk about it all the time. But this is even better, because now we're talking about in combat meditation. So getting some back while you're in combat, I'm all for it. I think it should be that way. Maybe, you know, and that's what he's talking about here. Maybe not as good as out of combat meditation, but, you know, it should be a possibility. And there should be consequences for that, okay? Because if you're going to get some mana back in the middle of a fight, then there should be something to make you a little scared. A little bit more strategy needs to go into it. So this example, the wizard or the healer or whatever, having to get away from the group, because if they just sit down right there in the middle of battle, it's going to cause a lot of aggro, right? Like, people are going to see the healer, the mobs are going to see the healer just chilling out, sitting down, and be like, okay, alright, well, you're just going to sit down like you think I'm no threat at all, you know, and he's going to come after that healer. So I think that that's smart, and I'd like to see some maybe line of sight type thing go into that as well. And I really like that he mentioned, and don't forget there's disposition and behavior of the NPC, because if you know about it, earlier he talked about there will be NPCs in the world who will go straight for the healer. I tell my wife about that all the time. She's going to play a cleric. She's always a healer in MMOs. I talked her into trying them because I needed a healer back in the day, and she loves it. Thank God. It worked out. God is good. But I tell her about that all the time. Like, you know, there's going to be some mobs that are just going to come straight for you because you're the healer, and it scares her to death. She's like, oh, that's screwed up. Why would they do that? You know? So I think that's the kind of thing he's talking about right there, is if they already want to come for the healer and then the healer's chilling out, oh, there's going to be nothing holding them back. She better be out of their line of sight so they don't even realize that she's there at all, you know, and definitely not sitting down. So I think all that's great. The more strategy and the more you can change things and make them, you know, to where we got to think about our actions and we got to consider where we are, what we're doing, when we're doing it, that's all gravy. And that's going to make the game so much better. I love it. I think it's cool. I didn't read a single word out of any of that answer that I disagree with. I don't know if I've ever disagreed with Brad McQuaid. Actually, now that I mention it, I don't think that's ever happened anyway. I'm trying to think of a time, but I really can't think of a time. So anyway, and it just puts a lot of imagery in my head, right? Like, I can think about being real deep in a dungeon, right? And, you know, forget about the healer. Let's say it's the wizard, right? And he's you know, wizards are going to do this crazy good DPS, right? Like, they're going to be doing just massive amount of damage, you know, and I'm the tank, and I got this wizard with me. I'm a paladin. I'm holding down the aggro, you know. I'm holding the hate and everything, but this wizard's really challenging me, you know. He's got this massive DPS. I'm barely holding on because he's doing so much damage. I'm barely keeping ads on me. You know, maybe once turned a couple of times and started towards the wizard, and I've been able to get it back just in time, and then the wizard runs out of mana, okay? And he just says, you know, I'm out of mana, I'm gonna chill out. He begins medding right there. Well, I was already having trouble holding this aggro because the wizard's damage was so high. Now he just sat down and began meditating, and the mob just, there's nothing I can do. You know, I was barely holding it anyway. I didn't realize this mechanic, or I forgot about this mechanic in the heat of the moment, or he didn't know about it and I did, and there wasn't enough time for a warning. He's medding, the boss goes after him, we're freaking out, he gets one-shotted, you know, and everything, that whole night changes, okay? The whole night changes, even if we make it through it, like, even if he's the only one die, that changes the night. That's a story, right? That would be a great video, that'd be a great story, you know. It's just cool, and I love that. Gosh, it's like every time you open another can of Pantheon, the gummy worms just flow out, and you just want to eat them all up, you know. You start drooling, you just, oh, gummy worms, right? I love it, man. It's always like that with Pantheon and Visionary Realms, and I had to touch on this answer first because it's kind of a heated debate, I guess you could say, about Downtime, etc. I think that most of the Pantheon crowd is for Downtime because we've been there. Maybe we complained about it back then, but now that we've seen the world without it, we definitely, for the most part, most of us, are all about some Downtime. And we also know that Brad McQuaid is talking about there's a amount of downtime. There's a sweet spot on that, alright? You don't have to sit there for 20 minutes, you know what I mean? you know, there's a balance to things. And thankfully we have him on the team who's got all this experience with all these old school, awesome social MMOs that if you're going to trust anybody, trust in Brad McQuaid. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Leave me a comment down below what you think about this in-combat meditation. Do you like it? Do you, maybe that sounded bad at first, but when you heard Brad kind of explain how it would work, now you do kind of like it. What do you think? Do you think there should be no penalty for in-combat meditation? Do you think it shouldn't even be possible? Just let me know. Sound off in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Until next time, God bless and happy gaming. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize. But just please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.